So I argue with everybody about this. I don't believe in talent. I think you could learn how to draw. It's not about whether or not
you think anything can be taught.
I think anything can be taught. It's whether or not you can catch up.
Yeah, kid. Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer. Oh. It doesn't matter. Does anybody even watch this?
That's his good side.
Is that my good side? Which is, do I have a good? It's all the same.
I assume if you always sit on this side, you gotta.
I don't know.
No.
I just feel comfortable over here. No, I don't know if I have a good side. Does everybody have a good side?
I definitely do.
What's your good side?
I forget. But if I'm in the mirror, I know. I'm like, it's this one.
That's my good side. Boom. Do you actually when you're posing for pictures and shit?
No,
I
have no idea what I'm doing.
No,
I just kind of just black out.
Yeah.
Throw a little smirk.
I mean, what I usually do is, for some reason, the flash fucks with me, and I have my eyes closed in every goddamn picture.
That's just like naturally, like my face, like my eyes are always closed. My girl bugs out about it. She gets so upset. Up, your eyes are closed. Up, your eyes are closed. Can't post this. Your eyes are closed. I'm like, it's me.
Are men and women ever going to understand each other?
No. Nope. I don't think
I mean, I just turned 44.
Yeah.
Right? So you would think I would have figured it out at this point. Not a clue. Not a clue. Yeah. I know absolutely. Listen, flipping houses, business, got it. Makes sense. Put it together. It all works in my mind. The opposite sex?
Yeah, no.
Well,
they're getting worse because the pack is getting bigger. You know, they all have like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. And when one pretty girl comes up with a belief,
this is interesting,
and they put it up on TikTok, all the other pretty girls, or the girls that want to be the pretty girls, are like, I identify with that kind of. I'm gonna adopt all of that ideology, and then it's.
Do you have an example? Because that's very interesting.
I think it's anything. So right now I think it's huge, and I tattoo mostly men, so I have a lot of men. I hear about all types of guys, like relationship problems.
Is there a reason? That's interesting. Is there a reason for that, or it just happens to be that way?
Money.
Really?
It's got to be money.
This is kind of like the whole scenario with bars and clubs, right? Like they give it away to women to get them in the door, and then the guys spend the money.
Yeah, and that's like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth it for me to give anything to a girl just because she's cute. So for me, I think the money thing, if anybody's going to spend that amount of money on a sleeve or large projects too, because for the most part, I only take on large projects. It ends up mostly just being guys. So I get to talk about. I hear everybody's problems, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're all in the same fucking shit. We're all in the same boat.
So you're really in the scenario of artist, bartender, therapist, because people are sitting there. Well, first, before we dive into this, if you have a house that smells like cat pee, dated from the 1960s, I want to buy it.
Yeah,
that's simple. Yeah. B, we wouldn't even be here if it's not for Salvazzolo.
Yes,
we love Salvazzolo, Carlin Financial. If you need a mortgage person, and if you're in real estate, you definitely do. Most likely, the one you have sucks. So what I would say is reach out to Salvazzolo because he's the man. We love him. He's got an amazing, craziest sleeve.
Thank you.
Ever. So that's obviously how we met. We met once before, but this is our first we're really sitting down, chopping it up, getting to know each other. You were last week's recipient of the coveted, and just because I don't have tattoos doesn't mean that I'm not an expert in the tattoo space, right? Maybe not. You don't know, but you're the recipient of the coveted Handsome's Best Long Island Tattoo Artist, which I truly believe.
Yeah, thank you.
Because the stuff that you do is wild. Like I've seen a lot of tattoos. Obviously, tattoos made a very big comeback. I would say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
I think 10.
10?
10. It's only been like 20 something years since tattooing's even been legal in New York.
Really?
It's like crazy. It's like the 90s or something stupid like that.
I feel like tattooing was really, really big. Like it was like an outlaw thing back in like the 60s.
Yes.
And then it kind of took a hiatus. I don't know if it took a hiatus. I don't know why it took a hiatus. You might know. If so, I'm curious to know. And then all of a sudden, you go into Bloomingdale's and the mannequins have tattoos, like full sleeves.
Yeah.
In Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
Like
it's. I think social media really changed the game. I think people started really pushing the fashion aspect of it. Yeah. I think artists started getting involved more in fashion, and that's really what pushed it out. When it was just like big tattooers and tattooer magazines and stuff like that, it's one thing because it's super niche. But once you started putting tattooers on like, People magazine, you know, or in like fashion magazines and stuff like that, then it blew up.
So I would love to be artistic. I can't even, legit, like, not even funny. Like, I can't even read my own handwriting. It's horrible.
My handwriting's horrible. But
how you get to the level? Well, I'm curious to know, like, how do you decide, like, hey, I'm going to be a tattoo artist, right?
So there's so many moving parts to that, but we could dive into a lot of it. So I argue with everybody about this. I don't believe in talent. I don't think that I think you could learn how to draw. It's not about whether or not
you think anything can be taught.
I think anything can be taught. It's whether or not you can catch up. It's how many, it's tens of thousands of hours of, it's not just, all right, this is what I try to tell everybody. What do you think about in your lay time? What are you thinking about online at the deli?
What are you obsessed with, basically?
What are you obsessed with? That's usually what you'd be good with. Some people are obsessed with nothing. Some people, they're just in the fucking clouds when they're online at the deli. They're just looking at the chick, you know, behind the counter, and that's it. But then there's people that I'm sure you're in line. You might be running the numbers. You might be thinking about how does this place do.
We gotta buy fucking 4 houses today.
Yeah, you're probably thinking about something else. You're on the phone. You're thinking from the second you wake up, whatever you're thinking about, that's not working hours. You know, everybody's working the 8-10 hours a day. But what you're thinking about when you're on the couch, when you should be watching TV, or you should be paying attention to your spouse, or you should be paying attention at the dinner table, but your mind is someplace else, that thing is what you're practicing in your brain.
So can you say that you are obsessed with tattooing?
I've been obsessed with tattooing and with art for so long that I have tens of thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of hours of thinking about, when I'm standing in line someplace, I'm looking at the clerk and thinking, like, how could I draw their face? Like, what is this texture? Like, how is this lighting?
Wow.
It's constant. So when somebody tries to draw something for an hour, they take a class for 2 weeks, and they're like, I took a class, I couldn't get any good. And it's like, you spent 10 hours trying to learn something I've spent thousands on. Of course you're no good.
So I mean, listen, I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm going to fight for you on your behalf and other brilliant tattoo artists on their behalf, and say that there is a certain level of talent, bro. Like, if you put two people next to each other, like if Michael Jordan trained for 1 million hours and I trained basketball for 1 million hours,
yeah,
I would be pretty good.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be Michael Jordan.
I mean, there's different physical attributes. I'm sure there's different. You're not a tall guy. You're not Jordan tall.
I mean, we're both.
I'm not Jordan tall.
We're both bald.
There you go.
It's got to be good for something. I understand what you're saying, though, but there's definitely a level of talent there.
Maybe.
And the way, you know what it is also? It's the way you interpret things. Right.
So I think that, yes. So I think when you get into the thing that I think is actually like raw talent is these people that have these creative minds that can make just like off the wall stuff. They just see Earth different. They see everything differently.
Yeah.
It's as if they're looking through like their own filter, and everything they see looks like that filter, and we can't see it. That to me is talent.
As far as the training of, hey, it's better to use this needle here, the depth, should be this, the speed.
Yeah, all that stuff is trainable.
That's training.
Yeah.
So when did you know you want to be a tattoo artist? How did that evolve? Because that's not an easy thing to learn.
And
you have to have people that are willing to be like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah. So I was always an artist. I always drew and stuff. And when I was about 16, I don't know. I think I was just like messing around, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a tattoo machine on eBay and like see what I could do.
16 years old.
16 years old. I had gotten a couple tattoos, and I was like, oh yeah, like I could probably do that. So I bought an eBay machine. I did a couple tattoos on like pretty much anybody who would let me tattoo them for free. Then I got.
What did the early pieces look like?
So bad. And this is why, like, when people say, like, oh, like, you must be, like, I didn't just come out like this. Like, if you saw the beginning stuff, like, I promise you I could walk you through a tattoo right now, and it would be better than the stuff I did back then. Yeah. It's rough. But I didn't know anything about anything. I tattooed for maybe, like, a couple of months, and then I got in a bunch of trouble. I ended up getting locked up. I went away.
Really?
And for those few years, it was like just art.
You were gone for years?
Years. Yeah, years.
Wow.
Yeah. I was just like a dumb kid, man. Just dumb kid getting messed up. And
where'd you grow up anyway?
A little bit of everywhere. Most people would say Deer Park, but I lived in Deer Park for like 2 years.
So you grew up with Sal?
Yeah. I know Sal for a while.
Would you say, because I've heard this about you, that your best tattoos are the ones where people just let you run with it? Like the less restricted you are, the better, the better it goes.
Yep. And that's because I try to tell people, I think in a creative process, I try not to even have any ideas.
Yeah.
When somebody tells me something and they come in, and this is also how I'll skim my emails. People will come in and say, I want this here and I want this there. And I'm like, just slow down. Like, I don't know. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I don't know where they're going to go yet. Let's let this thing evolve by itself. Let's start with the basic concept of what we want. Let's gather as many images as we think we like. And the piece will kind of start to evolve on its own. But if we are super specific on what we want, then usually we'll end up missing stuff. We're like too tunnel visioned in on one idea. We might miss a better idea. So I try to be super, super open-minded. And if my client's not open-minded, that'll just kind of throw it all off.
So go back to the early years, because I want to kind of see how this progresses, and then ultimately how this becomes a business. Because when do you own the shop or you work out of a shop?
I own the shop.
Okay, you own the shop now. So yeah, very curious to see how this evolved, where you worked, how you built the client base, and then what ultimately led to you having your own place.
Yeah. So yeah, I went away. Again, like tattooing was something that I played around with. Drawing was something that I played around with as a kid, but I never considered it like a career.
No training, just
just like drawing, like messing around.
Yeah.
And then when I got away, it was more like, I started drawing more, and then I started noticing that I could make money at it. I started doing portraits for people, like drawing portraits of like people's loved ones, people's wives, girlfriends, stuff like that. And that started to be like my moneymaker. And I was like, okay, like I could actually, do this.
That's interesting.
I got one of the places I was at, they saw me, it was like a boot camp, and one of the drill instructors saw me drawing on my locker, and he was like, do you know how to paint? I'd never
like the military boot camp?
Yeah, it's like a military boot camp.
Okay. So you served also after that?
No. So this was a military boot camp in New York State prison system.
Got it.
And I was there for about almost 6 months. But so when I was there, I was drawing. A DI saw me, asked me if I knew how to paint. I'd never painted a day in my life, but I'm like, yeah, I can paint. And he's like, all right, well, we need this wall painted. We want like an eagle, because our platoon was like the Eagles or whatever. It was a big, fucking huge wall. And I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And yeah, that was my first painting ever.
How'd it come out?
It came out all right. I mean, now if I looked at it, I'd probably hate it. But like for the time, everybody was impressed. Everybody was like, wow. And then after that, I ended up going to another prison where they had a program called Facility Artists, where we would paint like, you ever see those pictures of inmates where they're like standing in front of like a painting behind them, or it's like a scene of some kind?
Yes.
All right. So I used to do those.
Okay.
I used to do like those paintings in the mess hall and stuff like that. And that's what I started to really hone in on, like, okay, like maybe this is going to be my job. Maybe I should pursue something in this, because this is.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Kind of. Mm-hmm. Do you think if you didn't go away,
I'd be where I'm at now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No way. No way.
I have a bunch of very close friends that have done time for a number of different reasons. Yeah. And it was they all say to me, greatest fucking experience of my life.
Best thing to happen.
My buddy Sal especially, he goes, if they did weekend getaways where I could pay to go back to remember, he's like, I would go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would go. Like it has, on certain people, it catapults them and just completely changes their life.
Dude, so my fiance, she used to work for Douglas Elliman.
Okay.
And she, before we were even together, she sent me a picture of Douglas Elliman had listed one of the prisons I was in, the boot camp.
Okay.
Because that boot camp went out of business, and the state was selling the property. And she sent me a picture of one of the jackets that we used to have. It said Summit CF on the back. It was a yellow jacket. I was like, I will pay you any amount of money if you can get me that fucking jacket. Like, I don't care. Like, name a fucking price. I will buy that jacket. And we couldn't get it. Douglas Elman, if you guys still selling Summit Correctional Facility, I don't think so. But dude, yeah, like that memory, it was good for me, man. I needed that. I definitely needed it.
Wow. So at that point, you realize, like, I'm good at this shit.
Yeah.
But you had tried tattooing. You had gotten tattoos before, so you were into it.
Yeah, I'd gotten tattoos before. I tried tattooing, but I still, even at that point now, that I'm realizing that I want to be an artist, a professional artist. I still didn't think tattooing was the way to go. I thought I was going to go to school to be an animator.
Okay.
And that was like the dream when I came home. I was like, I'll go to school to be an animator. Maybe I'll tattoo my way through college.
Nice.
This way I have some money to get into college and, do what I got to do. So I bought another tattoo machine and stuff when I came home, off to the races, tattooing out of my basement. Again, had no idea what I was doing. I ended up getting hired a couple months out by a local shop on Bayshore Road in Deer Park. And it was like just a horrible shop. Like, we just tattooed like baby mama names and like just like the ghettoest shit. We'd be there till like 2:00 in the morning.
Let me ask you this. I got a couple questions on this stuff. Are different skin types and different cultures different to tattoo?
Oh yeah.
Like, is it harder to tattoo like African American skin versus Indian skin versus white skin? Like, do you have to know?
I mean, so there's white skin that sucks. I tattooed a kid not too long ago who was pale white, and his skin was just so difficult. Everybody's a little bit different in regards to pigmentation. If you have somebody African American skin or just darker skin in general, yes, certain things are just not going to show up as much.
Is this only due to the color, or is there like a thickness of the skin due to different cultures and that impacts how the tattoo comes out?
Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes it's also just like your profession, stuff like that. Like, if I have like guys that are like laborers and they're outside all day and their skin is like fucking leather, it's like, it doesn't matter what your complexion is. It's not gonna be easy to tattoo. Sal's skin is like baby. It's just baby soft.
So something like that would be easier. No, that's interesting. And then second, so you said you got hired by a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
I always kind of assumed that tattoo shops were similar to barbershops in the sense that you kind of like, you pay rent or you pay a fee. Like, how does the business of tattooing work if you're a tattoo artist and you come into a shop?
So it's evolved a lot, especially recently. Typically, how it always was, you'd pay percentage. So you'd pay 50% was the going rate.
Wow.
It started to move in the direction of like 60-40, 60 to the artist, 40 to the shop. But predominantly, that's how the industry was always run, was 50-50 split from the artist to the shop. Now it's moving more in the rent direction. Most artists are paying rent.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you start working at the shop. How do you evolve to basically opening up your own place? How long have you been open on your own now at this point?
Since right before COVID, the September before COVID, so maybe 3 years.
Shit. So you were young. I mean, you're still young now. You're 32, 33?
33, yeah.
So you've had the shop for
I've had the shop
4
since
years.
September of 19.
Okay.
Right? COVID started in that May of 20 or March of 20. Yeah. So September of 19, I opened. And so in between then, I mean, a lot of different shops. After I got out of that shop, went to another like better shop. From there, I went on to working with a guy who he was just on Ink Master, and he had offered me to come and work with him. He was like traveling a lot at the time, so I went traveling with him, and we did like 40 cities a year for like 2 years straight, just like conventions, guest spots. Kind of got my name out there, but more than anything, I got to work with some of like the best artists in the industry.
Talk to me about like, so obviously it's time, it's training, but how does your talent evolve over these years? And then how does the customer base evolve? Because now you're booked out.
So I book out for the year. I book on January 1st, and that's
for the year.
For the year. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I try not to like, I never wanted to be one of those guys that would book out for like 2-3 years. Like if I just continuously took on appointments, that just gets crazy.
What's the booking process like? So midnight, January 1st.
Noon. So I do noon January 1st. And I tell everybody this all year long. So like when you put in a contact form now, it sends you a response back, books are closed, January 1st at noon, January 1st at noon. And I tell everybody that all year. So you kind of build up a big thing. And then I even send out a blast. I have a CRM and I'll blast everybody and remind everybody, hey, books are opening on January 1st. January 1st at noon, the books open. Everybody gets their emails in. And then I kind of sit down. It's just that day. It's a really nice process. I developed it maybe like during COVID. I came up with this. And it's been really nice. It's just a day of work where I sit down, I read all the emails I can. I kind of did the math in a way where I figured if I have, 240 appointments a year that I have to fill, 240 working days a year.
Okay.
And on average, each project takes 5-6 sessions, because most things are sleeves. It can be anything from 8 sessions to 3 sessions for maybe something on the smaller side.
Okay.
So say a median of like 5 or 6. So I come up with a number of maybe I need really only 45, 48 projects for the year. And I go through and I pick 48 projects. I put little tallies next to all their names. It's going to be this many sessions, that many sessions. And once I get to 240, the year's done. In reality, I only took on 40 or 50 projects.
Wow. And
I only booked those projects out 2 to 3 months so that I know, you know what I mean? Like if I get sick or something happens, it gives me a little more wiggle room. But that's the only day I really have to deal with the booking for the year.
Where'd you get your business savvy? Because, you mentioned CRMs. It's like the way you set it up.
Yeah.
Very good customer service, very pragmatic way of doing it. It makes perfect sense, right? But in my business, I wholesale some stuff. So I don't know if you're familiar with what that is. Okay. So I have guys that are trying to get a proof of financing that don't have documents from their last 3 closings to like people in general, just because someone's in business, most people are completely disorganized shit show.
Yeah.
Like you're tattooing people and you're talking about how you have a CRM, you have a freaking database, the blast goes out. Like that's like very intricate.
Dude, like it's stuff I'm always paying attention to that kind of stuff. I do pay attention to like people like you. I'm paying attention to people that I see that are doing real business. The first person that I worked with that was doing real business like that, I worked at the shop in the city, Bang Bang. They were doing like high-end celebrities, like really, really, like everybody who's anybody was like coming to that shop. And Bang had he's a decent tattooer. I don't want to take anything away from his tattooing, but he wasn't the best tattooer on the planet. But he was absolutely the best businessman in tattooing.
Yeah. And
I learned a lot from just being like, all right, like just I need to not be just like in the artist's brain,
No, it's smart because typically it's one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically you're not, organized. And not that I'm the most, I still have that artist brain. It's in there.
It's also men in general, man. Like, I don't think men are designed to be super organized. Like, women can do 4 million things at once.
Yes. And that's why the partnership is so important.
We can't.
Yeah. I think it's knowing your shortcomings and knowing what you're bad at. And I know if I do the appointments every 2 months, I'll fuck it up. I'll get disorganized. I'll have projects run over. I know myself. I know what's going to work. I know that if I don't have a CRM to collect all these emails, it'll just be a mess. I know if I don't have an assistant to help me keep it organized, I'll make it a mess.
Do you have an assistant?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
So this is obviously, you've been doing this for a long time. You've been tattooing essentially. So you started when you were 16, but when did it really pick up?
So professionally, I guess 2010.
Okay.
13 years.
So 13 years.
Yeah.
There must have been a lot of like, dude, I have fucked up trials and tribulations and shit goes bad every goddamn day.
Oh yeah.
Like, you seem very polished, but the road to being polished must have been a clusterfuck.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. The years of traveling were really just like I lived on like Jack and Coke and a bagel. And we would party like every single night. And I would tattoo like with a wrap, like a plastic cup with alcohol in it, wrapped in saran wrap.
Oh, it's like rock star shit.
Yeah, like rock star shit.
What? So you were traveling around, like you were traveling to different venues?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the deal? It's every weekend, or there's just certain shows or events?
Pretty much like every weekend. Like we would just do like every show, like the randomest like cities and states like Oklahoma and Nebraska, like weird places that you would never travel to otherwise. Like we're going there.
And the point is what? To just build up the base, to have the experience, to get wild and have fun.
I mean, yeah, it was like the wild and have fun. Like for me, the biggest benefit that I got was I got to watch all the artists that I admired and how they lived their life and how, you know, how they were doing art, what they were doing with their business. And see, 98% of them were so just messed up and they had no finance. You know, they were the biggest names in the industry, but they were like broke, you know, like they didn't like couldn't afford their rent or, you know, just disasters.
I was going to ask you, like, what is the tattoo artist's life?
Oh, dude, it's like, especially back then. Now we're getting into the world of really way more high-end tattooers that are doing really well for themselves. And I think the business aspect is coming. It's more and more artists are getting more business savvy than they were back when I'm talking about, you know, 10 years ago.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, it's evolved from, you know, people messing around to like a hobby to now like a legitimate business, like real. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much money is spent on tattoo. Maybe you know nationwide, but it's got to be a lot, especially now.
Yeah, especially. I mean,
Craig, do me a favor, Google that. What? How big of an industry is the tattoo? Yeah, like you know, like whatever is a $10 billion a year industry, $20 billion a year. I'm curious to know.
What's hard is we all make cash. So like on the books, like what that number is versus.
Isn't cash a pain in the ass now though?
It is, dude. So I mean, the last few years, like I've been claiming a lot more, but typically.
How big? $2 billion.
Wow.
Think about that. That's nuts. Like it'd be interesting.
And that's probably underreporting because there's guys out there that are charging, you know, $6,500 a day.
That's what I was saying. Like, what's the range on this stuff? If you have like, you know, super high end, and the guys that are charging a ton of money, are they are they the ones that are the best, or are they the ones that are just the most well known and has marketed themselves the best?
Most of the time, it's the latter.
I got it.
Most of the time, it's.
So talent doesn't necessarily dictate price.
Oh, I mean, dude, you know how it is. Like how many rich idiots do you know and how many smart broke people do you know? You know, like I know a lot of great artists that cannot get their stuff together enough to be successful artists. And I know a lot of decent artists that are very successful.
So think about that from a business standpoint. Like, I'm going to ask you, like, obviously you're very creative. Your work is amazing. Do you want to stay? But it seems like you also really have a knack for the business side of it. And I feel like the more you talk about the industry, the more I kind of think about the real estate industry. I think of mortgage brokers. I think of realtors. Yeah. And I think you like have these group of people that are very good at doing this one thing, but like business isn't their thing. No. But if there's a way to design a system for people where all they have to do is the thing that they're great at, it could be massive. Yeah. So like you having a great business mind, but I guess you're kind of like stuck in between the two because I feel like you really love tattooing.
So I love tattooing and I always want to tattoo, but I don't want to have to tattoo. I'd rather tattoo for my own enjoyment than it be my main source of income. Because at the end of the day, like I have to be there. I have to be the one putting in the work. And I can only do so much work. You know, like it sucks that I can only take 50 projects a year. Wish I could take 300.
Yeah.
But I'm only one person. And if I want to give my clients a quality product, I kind of have to mitigate that stress a little bit.
So how do you balance, like typically when you're one person and you are the product, I always say, listen, you fill up until you have no more slots, and then you start raising prices until you get to the point. Down. But it seems like you kind of like alluded before that there's kind of, I guess there's a sweet spot to that.
There's a sweet spot to that. I think the sweet spot is, so I think some people charge, you know, they find that what's the max people will spend to get me booked for a month out, and I'll just keep living that life at, you know, maybe I could get people to spend $5,000 a day. So I have like the most transparent pricing, so I don't mind putting all this stuff out there. I charge $800 a day. That is the rate that I always go by. However, I if you want, so like I said, I closed the books on January 1st for the
Which
year.
is very, I mean, I would say cheap.
So yeah, I think so. So I also, if say you want to skip the wait, say you don't want to wait till next year and you need to get in tomorrow, I'll give you one of my days off. But I had to come up with a way, like, all right, like, how do I give these people an opportunity? So many people email and say, I'll pay anything, just let me have an appointment. I don't want to wait. I'm like, all right, double. So for 36, I'll come in on my days off. Those days
3,600
will fill up. Yeah, for 3,600. Those days will fill up. I get so many emails for those, I could just do that. The problem with it,
got it,
is that clients that spend that amount of money tend to be more, they're spending, say, 30 grand, 40 grand on a sleeve.
Fuck.
They tend to be really specific on what they want. Now, if they're going to be really specific on what they want, I don't have all the opportunities to do my absolute best work. So if I'm doing not my best work on a client who's spending 40 grand, and then they walk into this room and y'all want a great tattoo, and you guys go, oh, that's all right. How much was it? $40,000. Oh, okay, so now it's the most expensive tattoo you've ever seen, and it's not the best tattoo you've ever seen. Did that get me more business? It sounds like I made more money, but I made less money because now everybody in this room is going to get tattooed by me, and I lost future money. So I'd rather people walk in, and I think $18,000 for a sleeve is still expensive. And when somebody walks in, they go, wow, how much did that cost you? It cost you $15,000, $18,000, but it is the best work because in that price range of $18,000, $2,000 a day, I think I have a much wider variety of clientele where I can pick and choose and have the work that I want to do.
So I would ask this question. I don't know the answer, which is why I'm asking it. Is it the price that they're paying, or is it the urgency that they need it done like now? You know what I'm saying? Like, is the person that like respects your time, books it out and says, I'll wait, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Is that a different type of person, irregardless?
Yes. Yeah, it could
Or
be.
is it the whole, like, you know what, like, I need to get in there, I want this done now.
Yeah, that's a really good question. A big part of the reason I put that process the way that it is because the people who will wait for my work are typically just better clients. They're the clients that they have the personality trait with or they respect me and my work enough. They're like, whatever you need, take as much time as you need. I just want you to do your thing when you can. Those clients are great. So arguably, could I make them wait and charge them $3,600?
I'm not even saying necessarily that. And again, listen, I'm just thinking this from a straight business standpoint because that's the only brain I got, right? So, and everyone's motivation is different and what makes them happy and like, how much money do you need type of thing also. Yeah. But I would be curious to know, and the only way to know would be to test it is, hey, is that same cool guy who will wait 6 months for me and pay $800 a day, like, will he pay $2,000 a day and still be that same cool guy?
So maybe it might.
Because I think it's like a realtor. I relate it to real estate because that's what I know, right? A realtor gets into the business, is charging 4% because they feel like it's a confidence thing, it's an experience thing, whatever it is. And all of a sudden you realize I'm only one person, I can only see so many clients, right? So all of a sudden you're charging 6%. You basically just doubled your income in the same amount of time by doing exactly the same thing, just operating from a different perspective. I'm just curious to know.
So, go ahead.
No. I'm just talking to the camera now because people are like, fuck you, Charles. Like, I'm getting a sick deal. It's $800 a day. This guy's going to come into 18. Oh, it's $1,800 a day. Oh, it's $1,800?
$1,800.
Oh, I thought you said $800.
No, $1,800.
Still a bargain.
Still, I think it's a decent
still
price.
A bargain. Yeah. Because I've heard of tattoo artists like $300, $400, $500 an hour.
Yeah. So I guess it does average out to about $300 an hour. $300 an hour because the pretty much the minimum to be in the chair is 5 hours. Well, maybe it's $325 an hour. I don't know math.
And you typically tattoo five days a week?
Yes.
Hold on, I gotta do this. Fuck, good for you, dude.
Yeah, it's not.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's not bad. And then, yes.
Got it. All right, so you double it on the days off.
And then I double it on the days off. So those days, I mean, I do 2 of those, 3 of those a month. I mean, that puts me into the 40s, like it.
Bro, you're killing it.
Yeah, It's all right. So I think
you're a 1%er.
I don't know.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is that 1%ers?
I think if you make above $400,000 a year,
yeah,
you are 1%. You're the 1%er.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't feel like it.
Well, because it's New York and everything's
yeah.
insanely expensive. I went to the diner with my girlfriend yesterday. It was like $120 for two paninis, and I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think I'm doing well enough, and to me, it's more important to have the variety of clients and do the coolest work that I can, because I'm not done. I'm not ready to tap out. And I think what some of these guys do, and I see it a lot. I see some of these guys that are charging $4,500, $6,500 a day. Most of them, especially in this climate, are not as booked as they were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they also just, it seems like they don't get to tattoo as often. They don't put as much work out. And like, I'd rather tattoo 5 days a week, because not only am I keeping myself busy, but I'd also like to have 5 people walking around with fresh work. That's cool. More advertisement.
So now it's very hard for me to understand this, because I have ADHD to the point of fucking
same.
They tried to medicate the shit out of me.
Same.
So I don't know. Did they medicate you or try to medicate you?
They try.
Bro.
I went to prison instead.
Different form of medication, but
yeah.
How do you sit there for 8 hours at a clip? And it has to be like, bro, the responsibility, maybe you're just so used to it that it doesn't really impact you. But when I think about it, I'm like, the responsibility that you have is massive. Someone is going to be walking around with your work forever. I mean, obviously you can get it removed, whatever, but like, that's a big deal.
So I think I call it the TISM. I think I'm definitely somewhere on the spectrum, where I have the ADD thing, where I'm kind of all over the place. The TISM, a touch of the TISM.
Oh, the TISM.
The TISM, yeah. I'm definitely somewhere on the spectrum where like I can hone in on a project that I'm obsessed with and be there for 10 hours. And it's just like blinders are on. I'm only thinking about that. When I get home, I'm still thinking about it. When I wake up, I like close my eyes and it's like, it's still there in my brain. So I definitely have that. But then in other aspects, if I'm not really interested in what I'm doing, I'm going to be all over the place.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I guess I can relate to that. Like if I'm super dialed in on like analyzing some crazy deal, I'm like, yeah, but otherwise I can't sit still for shit.
It's just about what you're passionate. I think that's it.
Like my second grade teacher legit used to open the side door to the building and tell me to do wind sprints back and forth until I calmed down and sat down in my chair. Like I was wound the fuck up my entire life.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I did horrible in school.
Still.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, right? And this is not to delve into the relationship thing. This is more for me than it is for you, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I can relate to your like addictive ADHD nature.
Yep.
Right. When you're obsessed with something and you're thinking about, when you're not tattooing, you're thinking about it.
Yep.
How does that
or some other project? Yeah.
How does that meld with like relationships?
Relationships? Yeah, it doesn't.
All right.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm trying to figure it out because I am to real estate what you are to tattooing.
Yeah. I think that, especially I assume you have a beautiful girl at home. They're used to a certain amount of attention. And now, they have all this attention pretty much like they're just like, people are just throwing it at them like most of their lives. And then they get into a relationship and they shut all that down. And they're just like, now only you give me attention. But like, you're busy some of the time. So I try to explain to my girl where I'm like, if I had all of the time to do all of the things with you all of the time, we wouldn't have any money to do any of the things you want to do. Like I couldn't, we can't do both. I think they have to like realize you're either going to date a broke guy that's got all the time, or you're going to date a guy that's doing all right and has to set time aside for you,
Yeah. I mean, you said it very eloquently. And I feel like, I mean, it sounded smooth. I feel like it might not go that smooth in real life, but I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And do you ever, like me, I wrestle with myself. I'm like, well, am I overdoing it? Am I too compulsive about it? Like, do I need to chill? Like, what's normal? What's the balance?
I don't think there is, man. It's hard to be, I don't think anybody could be the best at anything. I don't think
unless you're obsessed with it.
The best at everything. You know, if you're gonna be 100% about this, it's gonna be really like that. That's 100% is 100%. It's not. It's 100%.
Yeah,
so if you're 100%, you know, the handsome home buyer, where is the relationship? Where's the husband? It's hard to be, you know, Steve Jobs, notoriously like horrible father, horrible husband.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so. I think like people talk about like he was just like not there for his kids or whatever, but it's like he built a product that like changed the world, you know?
No, I hear stuff like I went to NYU for my master's and the teachers were like the best in their whatever their respective fields were that I was learning at the time. And every single one of them without question was divorced. Their freaking kids hated them. Their current wives hated them. Their ex-wives hated them. Yeah. But they were brilliant and they built like multi-billion-dollar funds and like, you know, just done some of the craziest shit in the space ever. Yeah. It just makes you think, you know, is it possible to be truly great and just have everything in your life be great?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to give. And that's why I put, you know, I work 5 days a week. If you want me to work more than that, it's going to cost you X amount of money. Because I want to deter people from doing that because I need my time off. I need time to spend with my fiance. And I know that I need to make that a priority. And to some extent, some of those things, you know, taking the time away from work or out of that mindset, sometimes it's good. You know, sometimes she makes me think more creative, or she makes me, you know, instead, like I wouldn't traditionally like go to a museum, you know, by myself, but like she'll make me go to a museum and I'll be like, wow,
oh, that's
I'm
interesting.
Inspired to be better at work, you know.
That's cool.
It's, I don't think it was my phone. Yeah, stuff like that. So I think it's good to have a partner if you're in business, because it gives you that ability to like get away and think differently and maybe, you know, even challenge some of your beliefs. But it's definitely, it's hard nowadays. I think it's getting harder and harder with like social media and the way that girls talk to each other and talk about men. You know, we're all a narcissist now.
Fucking Tate. Damn you, Tate. Damn you, Tate. And who's that guy that you love? What's that guy's name again? Justin Waller? Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, so now I can't tell you how many times I see it on TikTok, or how many times I hear clients, because I have a lot of men clients that, you know, they're telling, oh, my girl thinks I'm a sociopath. My girl thinks I'm a narcissist. Jesus and it's Christ. Like because they watch some TikTok.
I feel like I've been called that a couple times.
Yeah, because somebody watched the TikTok, and the person who made the TikTok isn't qualified to tell people what a narcissist is. And, you know, and then your girl or whoever is calling you a narcissist isn't qualified to take that information and diagnose you based on an argument you had. But yeah, that stuff's going more and more around, and it's scary time. Scary time for us, man.
Scary time to be a guy.
Scary time to be a guy.
So, in conclusion, what does the future look like? Is it status quo, more the same? Are you looking to get more on the business side? Are you looking to open up more shops and branch out? Are you looking to help, you know, more up and coming tattoo artists, you know, kind of, you know, run their businesses better? What direction are you gonna go in?
I would love to have a shop with more artists, because right now I just have a private studio, so it's just me in there. But I would love to have a shop with, you know, some other hitters, and there's really nothing on Long Island that's like, you know, a bunch of like really good tattooers together. So that's kind of why like I'm pushing, and I want to keep pushing to just putting out like the best work that I can, because I'd like people to want to work with me. I want people to see my work and be like, that's the guy I want to work with. I want to be like that. I want to come up and be a bigger, better tattooer. And I want people to see me and think that, you know, they're going to work with me, and so, I can give them that.
So what's the roadmap to get there? Is this like,
the roadmap is exactly what I'm doing. It's being out here talking about the stuff. It's doing the best work that I can. Yeah. And I think I would like to, real estate's a really big thing that I want to get involved in. And it's something I've been working on the last couple of years, trying to put myself in a position for hopefully early next year, buy a property, if not a commercial property. I know commercial properties kind of suck, but I would love to have something that I own and then could run my business out of that, and then hopefully buy some rental properties or something.
No, listen,
that's the end game, is put myself in some rental properties, have a business that pays for itself.
Bro, that's what's up. That's the dream. Makes sense. And commercial isn't, I mean, there's some great commercial properties. And obviously I'm here for you if you ever need anything in that regard or advice or whatever I could do. But I mean, listen, if you can make the money doing something that you can put into real estate, that's will take care of you forever. That'll take care of your children. Like that's what builds your legacy. Because, the tragic thing about, being a tattoo artist is the moment you stop tattooing is the moment the money stops coming in. So,
trying to be smart about it while it's hot, because I don't know. I hope the way we're tattooing is going to be forever. But I don't know, dude. Everything comes in waves.
Yeah, everything has a life expectancy.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Our kids can hate tattoos.
Yeah, but there's always, I mean, listen, even if tattoos were not in style, there were still people getting tattoos. Like the cream of the crop will always have business in every industry for the most part.
Were those tattooers making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year? That's because I'm definitely getting used to living a certain kind of way right now. So dialing it back from that is gonna suck. So I'm trying to dial it back now and just take as much of that money as I can, put it on the books and put it into real estate.
That's really smart.
And
my opinion is, being 44 and I've been in business for 20 years. Yeah. Different businesses for 20 years. Everything has a life expectancy. Yeah. Nothing lasts forever. No. When something's super hot, start thinking about the next thing, because when something's super hot, it means that you have limited time doing it. Yeah. Now, again, that's not to say that tattooing is going to be dying anytime in the near future, but if you're able to make the money that you're making, you need to diversify it. Yeah. And I mean, I would also think of the business of tattooing, man. I think it's super interesting. And it's
such, not to cut you off.
Not at all.
I think you've talked about it a couple of times. I've watched a couple of your interviews with brokers and stuff, and I think they're so similar. The artist and real estate agent. Yep. I think it's their own business. Yep. That works for another business. So you have like these little franchises, and you can't. So there's certain positions you can make bulletproof. There's certain positions that you could put, you can make everything really easy for that person. I went through a dozen assistants before. I mean, now my assistant's great, Sabrina, she's awesome. But I also put in a system that made it so that she couldn't really mess anything up. Yeah. I decided everybody that's going to get booked, and every single question somebody could ask me, I wrote a response and I put it in a canned response, and she just clicks, oh, this person asked about this, they click it, boom, you can't say anything dumb. It's just, but tattooing, selling a house, stuff like that, it's not as easy. These, like, I can't do the tattoo for an artist. I can't sell a project for an artist. I can't market them. I can market them, but not the way that an artist can market themselves.
I disagree with you.
Yeah?
I personally think, so you and I are running kind of parallel. Yeah. Next year I'm opening up a real estate brokerage.
Okay.
With a concept that I don't think exists. And we'll talk about it offline, just because we're running out of time, but it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. So you have tattoo artists that are amazing artists. Yep. But they're not good at anything else.
Yes.
And they don't have to be. If you can create a framework that takes care of everything for them, and I mean everything for them. Yep. From, following up with their people, to setting their appointments, to like showing them how they can retire and put money away, to recording content and posting it for them. If you can create a system and the numbers make sense where you're getting, the percentage that makes sense for you to be putting all this out, I think you could blow that shit up across the whole country, man.
I mean, so people have done pretty good jobs at it. One of the shops I was at, I saw they did, he did really well at it for a while. The biggest thing is that artists, you're talking about the group of people that doodled in their textbooks, didn't show up to class. They don't take authority well. So you could tell them, and I've physically done this. I just had an employee that's no longer with me, but I would write everything out. This is what you need to do. This is bulletproof. This is what I did. This will work. I promise you. Do A, B, C, D every single day. These are the steps. I will help you do them. Let's do them. Not do any of that.
Well, give me an example of what it was.
Show up on time.
Okay, I mean that's kind of a big deal.
Show up on time. It could be something as simple as like when I'm making my stencil, I use this pen. This is the reason I use this pen. It doesn't make me have a problem later on in the day. You could use all this other stuff, but when you go to print the stencil, it's probably going to be a problem. But I like it this way. It's like, okay, but I kind of know what I'm talking about. But artists are a lot harder to talk to.
Yeah.
In that regard. You could tell them, hey, dude, this all works. This is the way. And I mean, hopefully, I would love to figure out what you're saying. I would love to get some people that are open.
Yeah. So I guess so I mean more on the business side, right? On the creative side, I'd be like, bro, you do your thing, however you want to do it. But then it also comes down to, and this is something that I've learned relatively recently, which is there's millions and millions of people in this world. Yeah. You don't have to have every tattoo artist. You just have to have the right ones. Yeah. So like you'll build a system that will attract the right people that have the right temperament that want what you have to offer. Yeah. And you can make a shit ton of money, and so can they, working out of this system and not deal with the people that want to butt heads with you. Yeah. No, that is ideal. That is what I would love to have. I would love to have. I just haven't really come in contact with any of those artists yet. Any of the ones who really get it, they're opening up their own private studios right now. Because it's so easy for them to go rent out a space for $1,000 a month and pay nobody. And if they're competent enough or understanding enough or adult enough to fill out a lease, agreement and, stuff like that, they usually just do that. So it's a fine line where I have to find the person that wants me to help them with that stuff, but is willing to be open-minded. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And then the question is, can you generate enough buzz for them that instead of charging $1,000 an hour, they're charging $2,200 an hour? Yeah. And are they not getting themselves audited by the IRS because you're helping taking care of their back-end books and all these other things? I don't know. It's an interesting thing to talk about, because I feel like when you look at industries, there's a lot of opportunity. Yep. And if you're getting to the point where you're like, I love tattooing, but I don't want to have to do it 45 hours a week, every single week for the rest of my life. Yeah. Then it's something, there might be opportunity there. Yeah. So listen, I really appreciate you coming down. It was awesome to meet you again. Yeah. I'm in awe of your talent, bro. Seriously. I mean that. If people are, the new year's coming. Yeah. January 1st, right, if anybody is interested in getting a tattoo, or they want to follow your work and see what you do, how do they follow you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they get on the list for 2024? So January 1st at noon, I'll be opening up the books. If you go to my website, niconegrontattoo.com, you'll see, you can go over to my fax, you'll see a contact form, and January 1st at noon, you put in that contact form, and love to do your project. Awesome. I'd love to buy your house that smells like Cappy. 516-777. Sold. Thank you, Sal, for everything. Thanks, Sal. That's a wrap.